to be honest with you, I know I got from three individuals. I didn't pay attention to them.
I was just curious if that was the one or not.
Yeah, didn't even pay attention. But so, it's this why I laugh. When I see these kind of things, it's kind of like, really, folks? Yeah. Really? Really? How about somebody actually pausing to
Morgan did make
facts
progress
reach
tonight.
to conclusions?
Yeah, I agree.
And do you think that if all the things that we do well is communicate, some point over-communicate, that we wouldn't have been communicating this? And secondly, Mr. State Trooper guy, as much as we have interaction with, do you think that, it's kind of industry? Absolutely not.
That's really something.
Not get going.
See him get out of that car. That's Ann's car.
No, actually, I'm going to wait till we have more information specific to us.
Probably, yeah.
Till we have more information specific to us, Gary. I know what the law says, but I don't want to make an announcement that people think it's something that we have a problem without.
It's
We're going through the process
has
now.
the meeting, which I never.
So yeah, I'll wait till.
The night where we have a board meeting, because I kind of like to hear the commissioner.
I want to send information
feel
to the
obliged
board
to
at the same
hear.
time too. I'm not going to talk in public about something that
I'm not, we're taking a big trip in October.
Are you?
And I don't feel like
Email that you sent didn't mention
my mom. I'm nervous about that. So, no, I'm not going to.
I mean, everything in that email.
It'd be different if I could take the train down for the day.
Yeah.
But we still had to hear from one parent. That wasn't enough detail.
There
There must be more to it. You guys are lying. Yeah, we're lying. We're keeping out all the details of it. There's more to it. Yeah, the guy was out there with a semi-automatic weapon. Yeah, we're keeping out the details. Like, really? What do we get from really?
Today?
Yeah, today, dropped him off and came back.
That's why, like you were saying,
So Betty was going to go.
big part of when we hear these things. Okay, I hear you.
It's about almost 2.5 hours.
Thank you very much.
I was telling
There's way more to it than you probably hear what you share with me, but it's okay. We'll eventually get more information and have a better perspective on it.
Now,
And
Elizabeth and I was going back. And I was driving.
people like the dramas.
Get out of that.
Spin the tale over and over and over, and it gets better every time.
Just saw it there.
No
And
way.
it came into the
Got a minute here, sir. Cranking.
and then came out, and I had to virtually stop to not hit it.
Oh my
It
God.
was probably like 150 pounds.
What if you didn't see that?
If I hadn't seen it, I would have. That's what I said to Betty. If I didn't see it over there, I would have hit it. Because it was just, right.
So the meeting's at 7, just so she knows.
Hi, Yogi. Did it have a picnic basket?
iOS 10, which is the new software.
Good.
Apple came out.
Kelly. Yeah. Good.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Shenendehowa Central School District Board of Education Business Meeting for 13 September. Well, let's start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the moment of silence in recognition of September 11th. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing so we can remember September 11th. Thank you. Okay. For the agenda, let's adopt an agenda. So any motion to do that? Mrs. Blaber, anyone else? Mr. Casey, for seconds? Any comments? Probably not. All in favor? Okay. Now I'd like to turn it over to Board of Education comments. So let's start off with Mrs. Stevens.
I'm sure everybody's going to talk about the first week of school. I got to tell you, my first experience walking through these schools was really wonderful. I actually learned a little bit about the schools as we walked through, seeing the children. And I know Mary's laughing at me as every time we passed the kindergarten classroom, I would well up. I mean, they're babies, they're babies, and what they become are just wonderful, wonderful students going out into the world. So I just want to say welcome everybody, and it's been a great first week, and looking forward.
And moving along on that, welcome back everyone. Very exciting week and a half. I was just talking to Sheridan. I go, it seems longer than that, but to the students it probably seems way too long. But welcome back everyone. During the summer, we had the opportunity to attend the summer graduation for the high school students that needed just a little bit more time to complete all the requirements for graduation. And that's always a special event that I thoroughly enjoy because, it's always an accomplishment to graduate. For some kids that might have a tougher road to get there, just to see the excitement of not only them, but their families that they made it. And they're still a part of the graduating class of 2016. So it didn't matter that their road was a little longer. What mattered is they made it, they accomplished it, and they have something to be proud of. So that was a very beautiful ceremony. Also, I just was thrilled to see the great response that the high school received through the summer food drive for the backpack program. It's just nice to see in the summertime, food insecurity occurs all year long for our families, for several of our families. So it's nice to know that the rest of our community came out in support of that. So I was very pleased to see that and be a part of that as well. Sorry, I have my electronic thing with notes, so bear with me. Let's see, what else? Also had the honors with several board members to attend Sasago and Scano's 50th anniversary ribbon cutting. What a great turnout, perfect day. So Mr. Pace, great on ordering that weather for that day. Very exciting to see the kids coming in to bring all their school supplies, getting ready for the first day of school with the families, and just having that opportunity to celebrate together. And there will be many more activities planned throughout the year for the 50th anniversary, so we'll keep you apprised of those. And the first day of school, I only had the opportunity to tour very early morning for the high school. And again, that is a favorite time of year to see all the kids back and teachers, and just a positive way to kick it off. And it's also great to see our new electronic signage. It'll be great once it's up and operating, but they look great. So looking forward to seeing the several messages that will be coming our way once they're functional. So that's it for me.
So I could probably use the electronic sign. So I have 4 points, and I can cover it in 20 words. Enrollment's up by over 100. Great news. Taxes are down. Another good thing. Our new hires in place and the support staff did an absolutely fabulous job in getting our schools ready for opening. As we toured those buildings, hearing from the teachers, from the principals, seeing the involvement of the support staff in the planning for opening of school and getting the schools ready for us is just a great tribute to the commitment, the total commitment of this Shenendehowa community. So thank you to everyone involved.
Okay. Wanted to also congratulate the summer school graduates, but also Mr. Presley on his inaugural commencement address. Very well done. Our PTAs have fundraisers of all sorts throughout the course of the year. For the first time, I participated in a PTA fundraiser at Saratoga Racecourse. No betting was involved, but they had a very nice opportunity for children who come to the track with their families to have make crafts and do all kinds of activities, and a portion of that goes to PTA, and that was really a lot of fun to be a part of. Also on the ribbon cutting for Scano Sasago, notice when you go on that side of the campus, the banners celebrating and recognizing the 50th anniversary. They really are a nice touch, and I was grateful for that. And it was nice to see, not only, as Mrs. Rajat said, all the students and the parents, but there was a member of the first graduating class of Scano at the Scano ribbon cutting. And at that time, it was K through 6, I think, is that what she said? So she was a 6th grader, and it was nice for her to be able to come back. Talk about the support staff and really all the stakeholders coming together for the first day of school. Django had a great turnout for their walkthrough, and the students pick up their school supplies if they ordered them through PTA. Big smiles on their faces, open up their boxes, put labels on everything right away. It's just more excitement and more stakeholders taking part in the very first start of school, making it what we hope and expect will be a very successful year. Same with PTA Council. Their first meeting was last night. The energy and enthusiasm, it was great. And just another word on the walkthrough, always happy to see the students' excitement being back to school, and really that's sincere, I think. But it struck me when we were in one of the elementary buildings that there was a high school art teacher who decided to refresh her practice and is now teaching in one of our elementary buildings. And I thought, your job just never gets old. You just keep thinking, she said she had been thinking about the concept of mindfulness, and that was important to her, and that she thought she could boost things up and change her practice. So now she's one of our elementary art teachers. Good for her.
Mr. DeLello?
Yeah, I guess this is probably the first year in quite a number of years that I actually did the entire tour. A lot of buildings. I was just reflecting a couple of things. They kind of merged. Yes, the kids were all bright-eyed and happy and excited and so forth and so on. Back when I was teaching, I can remember, of course, I was at the secondary level, and I remember going back through some of the personnel folders of some of the kids and seeing the pictures that were taken of them at various years. And of course, they grew. But one of the things that really hit me was that those bright, shiny eyes, kind of over 5, 6, 7 years, all of a sudden they kind of just glazed over. That excitement, that, thrill of being there wasn't there anymore. I said, what did we do to these kids? And all I can say is it's our job to make sure that that light never goes out. Whatever we do, make sure that light doesn't go out. Today, just this evening, I saw something. I don't know, it's not board business, but it's something I wish that the district would kind of look into, maybe already is doing it. There was an article about the Guilderland girls soccer team. They're wearing concussion prevention headbands. One girl apparently got a concussion last year. She was playing on the JV level, and she started wearing a concussion headband, and she didn't want to be alone. And so her father bought 2 or 3 of them, and some of her friends on the team wore them, so she wasn't the only one out on the field wearing them. Apparently, it must be an option in New York State or Section 2 or whatever. But this year, she's varsity. All 19 of her teammates are all wearing them. Now, yeah, that's a great sign of teamwork and support and so forth and so on. But I'm saying to myself, gee, if there's something out there that our kids could be wearing, it's not a guarantee they're not going to get a concussion. You can wear a football helmet, you can wear an ice hockey helmet, and you can still get a concussion. Believe me, I know, because my boys both had concussions in those various sports. Thank goodness my daughter never did get one. But if there's something we can do, to encourage the booster clubs or the parents or whatever, but look into it. We've got probably one of the most knowledgeable people when it comes to concussions in high school sports on our staff, and that's a tremendous resource. And I'd really like to bring that to his attention and Holly's and Chris Colmane's and see, is there something worthwhile pursuing? Because if you prevent one concussion, we found out last year, and it took me by surprise. I had no idea how a concussion would cause kids to have difficulty in the classroom for a period afterwards while they were still healing, and how the classroom stress could actually be detrimental to their recovery. So this is all stuff that was, is new, but anything we can do to reduce the number of incidences of concussions, I think, would be great.
Mr. Gilbert?
So obviously I'll second everybody on the first day of school, and excited to be here, excited to have the kids here, excited to have my kids back in school personally. The one thing I do want to talk about, though, is Friday. So Friday was a big day for the district. Friday, for every one of our 6th graders and all 3 of our middle schools, we gave them all individually their own Chromebook to use. So each kid has his or her own computer now that they'll be using in every one of their classes throughout their 6th grade and obviously throughout the years. There was a lot of planning, months and months and months, a year plus of planning that went into this. It wasn't just, okay, let's get a good deal on these and let's hand them out to the kids. There was a lot of back office. Ken McDermott and his staff had a lot to do to make sure that we were ready to go, having the Wi-Fi everywhere. And one of the first thing that struck me when I got in there was, and I got there before the classes started, but the teachers were all so excited about it. You know the kids are going to be excited because they got this cool little computer to use, but the teachers were just, that was the one thing that stuck out in my mind, I think, was how excited the teachers were to be rolling this out to their kids. They all had plans, lesson plans in place. Math teachers, as an example, had lesson plans. I helped my daughter tonight with her math homework on her computer, so it was a great job. Anybody who's ever been in a mass IT rollout so that knows that there's going to be hiccups along the way. But Ken had his staff in each of the schools, and I'm assuming I was involved in the Gowanus school and actually helped, but I'm assuming all the schools were the same and all very successful. But his staff was there to fix those little things like a strap that was missing or a button wasn't working on the keyboard, and it was all planned. And while you do have those hiccups, the important thing is how do you get past that and move on. And I have not heard a negative thing anywhere. Everything's been positive. I'm curious how many are missing at this point. I'm hoping not too many. But the point is that this was a great project. This was a great first step for the district. We'll monitor the results, make sure that the value of using the computers is integrated into everything else. It's not just one more thing. It's something they're using every day. But I just want to commend the district, everybody from the administrative staff, the teachers, everybody just done a great job, and congratulations on a successful rollout. So, that's it.
Thank you. I'll conclude for the board. Just three things I'd like to bring to attention, very diverse. One is I would like to, because this is the first time I can publicly speak, thank the board for the meeting we had first time in August on the land RFP. I watched the whole 2-hour meeting on YouTube and was just very impressed with the balanced approach that we took. We had 3 board members not able to make it, 1 for a family emergency, 2 for vacation, but just the sense that we're doing what's in our interest and what's in the interest of the community and doing it in a very professional way. Very transparent that what we were doing, and we adapted to what some of the comments were, and I think that was appropriate. So I think that was one of the moments of one of the things we've done that indicates we're on the right path, we're doing the right things. And I think the more we look at this, and RFP is clearly the way to go. It's the fairest, most balanced way to get people to present solid proposals. And I would like to talk about opening day, some key themes. I spoke in front of the new teacher orientation, and really we're a district that always emphasizes, always is excelling in year-to-year excellence. What we're doing with all not just the test scores, but the other things that indicate our students are learning way above and beyond the level of passion for learning, what our teachers are bringing forward. And it's also, we're very low cost, and one of the lowest in terms of cost per student. And just making that work year to year is something we consistently strive for. When we went to Superintendent's Day, Oliver's speech was fantastic because you're able to take all the things we've done and put that in front of people and then make a transition into what we're going to do this year. And the way it was done, you have these accomplishments. You mentioned this is Shen. Why is it? Because that's who we are. There's no formulaic thing out there that I would hang on other than, it's a very well-run, solid district, high level of achievement and trust and confidence with the people that work here, and high level of confidence from our parents. Very few complaints as the opening school started, and quite a few highlights. But then you transitioned into the background of some goals, okay, and you didn't really get into the specifics of that because you wanted to explain to the teachers the 2 things that they need to be focused on, and that is teaching them how to learn, creating an environment where learning is an accepted thing in their mind, in their heart, and just as important, I think even more important, that each student knows that someone is valuing them and what they bring every day into the classroom. I thought that was a great way to take it from, all the things we've done, but to each teacher, the fact that you can see a student in the hallway and recognize them just simply nodding your head, or just things you do on a daily basis to make sure that student, regardless of their background, where they come from, this district has teachers that care about you. I thought that was a great way to transition this into a very successful year. So, yes, we have all these great accomplishments, but there's also things that happen just on a minute-by-minute basis in the classroom that I think we've conveyed with our comments that are very exciting here. The last thing I want to point out is I'm very excited of what is happening above us. And the latest on board, a very well-written article from our Commissioner of State Education, Commissioner Ely, where we were several years ago, just a high level of acrimony within this state. Between, some of the political forces, some of the people that were, seeing this as a threat with all the things going on. And clearly, she has listened, and her staff has listened, and some very well thought out, straightforward proposals coming through as to what we can do to get past that. So I think we're in a very good environment, both here and with the people above us in Albany, and it's a matter of just simply, continuing this and working well and working hard to go and attain it. So that's all from me. At this point, we'll turn it over to public comments. Do we have any residents that would like to make a public comment? Okay. Feel free to come right up, sir, and I'll read to you the opportunity. Also, before that, are any students here that would like to make a public comment? Let's go with the students.
Come after.
Okay, students will go after, okay. But this is an opportunity for the public to address the Board of Education. Please complete the comment form, and I think you have already, but the board will not address specific comments, but ask for your name and address in the event follow-up is necessary. And we remind residents that the public comment portion of our meeting is only one item in a very long agenda. We therefore ask that each speaker be as succinct as possible and that remarks be limited to 2 or 3 minutes. We'd also expect the residents to speak in a respectful and courteous manner so as to model proper civility and decorum for our students. Residents may also contact the board by email at boe@shenet.org. All questions come into the Public Information Officer and are shared with the board and the superintendent as appropriate. Public questions, concerns are typically addressed by the board president. Operational questions, concerns are typically addressed by the superintendent and our designee. Sir, you have the floor to speak. We have your information, so you don't need to provide that, and you can simply introduce yourself and provide your comments.
Thank you, sir. My name is Alan Atwell. I live at 9 Greenlee Drive in Clifton Knolls. The phone company transferred me here in August of '69 for the 2 to 3 year assignment, and I'm still here. My wife and I brought 5 children. 4 graduated from Shen. The 2 daughters were involved in musicals that Ralph Enochian put on in the 70s, and my 2 sons were involved in sports. I'm a World War II veteran. As a 19-year-old kid, I walked ashore in Omaha Beach on Labor Day of '44. I was wounded in the Hurtgen Forest, and obviously I survived the Battle of the Bulge. I'm a past commander of the VFW post and an active member of the American Legion. A good friend of mine accompanied me, Frank DeSorbo, he and I attended many district meetings in the Capital District regarding this subject. And some time ago, I spoke to William Casey, wondering what the board's feeling was, and we must have had a misunderstanding, because he said that he would contact Superintendent Robinson and get back to me, and he thought that I was going to send him information. Neither heard from the other, and that's why I'm here this evening. I'm wondering what Shen's position is on this, whether you've taken action, whether you're waiting for a veteran to bring it to a head, or what your position might be.
On the veterans exemption.
Correct.
I just want to make sure for the public.
I thought that's what I was here for. Yes.
Okay, good.
That's
Thank you
my
for your
story,
comments.
and
As
I'm
we've
stuck
mentioned
with it.
before, we're not going to address specific comments at this point, but we'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. DeSorbo,
This is
you
the
come
first time I've appeared in public without my cane, so
It's a fancy looking cane, too.
You don't have to sit if you don't want to.
Oh, this is the... Good evening, all. My name is Frank DeSorbo. I am not a resident here. However, I work with Alan Atwell. If you notice my shirt, I'm the president of Patriot Flight, which is an honor flight network. We bring veterans down to Washington, D.C. We have a flight on October 1st. That's not why I'm here. Why I'm here is to talk about the alternative veterans tax exemptions, which really is kind of misleading. And it is misleading because it's primarily a reduction of the assessment for veterans that served in the combat area or were right in combat. So it's really a combat veteran assessment reduction. There's 3 levels of it. Complicated? Yes. I know all about school districts. I sat here. I was the assistant superintendent for business. I even filled in as a superintendent on 2 occasions, and I admire the clerk because I was a clerk of the board for 10 years. So I've been through a lot of what's going on. I understand this is just a public comment. I always say, though, we're all in the education business. So this is a little bit of education. And I'll give it to you from a perspective of not just the money, because it really isn't going to affect anybody's real pocketbook or the school district's pocketbook, because all you're doing is redistributing the money. Somebody else's taxes are going to go up, and the veterans, or these combat veterans, is going to go down. So if you want to raise $80 million, you're still going to get your $80 million. Who are you going to get it from? People like me. I am not a veteran. However, I'll tell you, I've got something very much in common with all of you. I bet you. You all know veterans. You all have veteran families. I had 2 brothers in Vietnam, a brother-in-law in Vietnam, a very close friend of a 91-year-old World War II veteran who was at Normandy, Battle of St. Lo, Battle of the Bulge, and crossed the Remagen Bridge. He was quite an individual. Those kinds of people are the ones who really deserve a break. And then when it comes to thinking about who deserves anything, it should be those combat veterans. And from a perspective now with all the young kids, and I'm sure a school district of what, 9,500? Is that what you're up to? I used to work in the Albany School District years ago. And we in Shenendehowa were the big shows in town back in the 70s. And I will say to you that out of all the people that you'll come in contact with, the veteran that lives next door to you, you may not even know it. I write articles about that in the Senior Spotlight, the veteran next door. And for you to give the veterans a break is well worth it. It may make a difference to a young, true person, whether they want to live in your district or my district, Bethlehem. And I will tell you, many of the districts have adopted it. One thing you may want to consider, Niskayuna did a great job. They went out and did a survey and found out that people really believe the veterans deserve a break. And we're not talking every veteran. I've run into, number 1, Alan Atwell is rare. Not too many World War II veterans around. Korean War veterans, fewer. Well, it's known as the Forgotten War. Many of the Korean War veterans that I run into weren't in Korea. They were in Japan, Germany. You get into Vietnam, they deserve the break. Not that it's my generation, but it's about time they're coming out and being recognized. And then the young kids that are doing what they're doing today. It would be nice when they come home and say, by the way, do you got the combat veteran exemption? That your school district says, yeah, we have it. No, we don't have it. Go to Burnt Hills, go to Bethlehem, go to Gilderland. So I'm here to make a public comment that we, the non-veterans, pay for it, but it is minimal. And especially after the first year, you don't even notice it. So I hope you can take time to do it. I know that the tax rolls are established next March, so you got from now until March to consider it. I just want to check my notes here. I think I covered everything without looking at the sheet. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And I think we may have some more speakers that are students.
You don't have to, mic's pretty sensitive. You can
All
just
right.
talk.
So we're from the SFA Senate, for the Board of Ed Reps, and,
So who are you?
I'm Joe Diacetis.
I'm Anisha Char.
Yeah. So we just had our first meeting yesterday, and basically all we talked about was like the start of the school year, how we want the Senate to run this year, and the biggest thing right now is the Spirit Rally, which is next Friday. So we've been making all the banners for it and like getting everything set up, making sure it runs smoothly. And then, so like that's been our main focus so far this year.
Aiden Gillen, our president, also talked about committees for the incoming freshmen and new members to the Senate, because if they wanted to get involved, he wanted to tell them how. And he said that they meet at caucuses, and then we had reports from each of the committee heads. We had Spirit Rally with Sheridan, Hunter Galpin's the head. We did anti-bullying committee, and they're thinking of putting up an event this year for anti-bullying. Last year they planned everything, but it just didn't end up happening. So this year they're really trying to push it.
Can I ask a question? Do you have any sense of speak-outs yet or not yet?
I don't, not that I know of.
We can get back to you.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. That's fine.
Well, I know we're planning to do speak outs. I just don't know if we know what like
What the topics are.
topics are
Okay,
yet. Yeah.
thank you.
And by the way, make sure you guys work those freshman senators. And there's one in there with a Robinson last name. She really needs to have something to do. Thank you, guys.
Any other comments? Any other public comments? Okay, we'll turn it over to the superintendent's report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Presley. Just a couple of things, and I'm going to transition from my report to one of the information items. And as Mr. Presley pointed out, the board doesn't respond to public comments for some obvious reasons. However, it's important to note, certainly for the public and to our speakers, that the board has for the whole year a presentation schedule. The board has 2 meetings a month, a business meeting and a study session. And at the study session, we do a wide variety of presentations. One of the presentations that will take place to the board at the October 25th meeting is a presentation on the veterans tax exemption. So I share that particular to our 2 speakers to know that on October 25th, that will be a presentation of the board. It won't be necessary action of the board. It will be a presentation of information to the board at that study session. So we're at that board meeting. So we're looking forward to that discussion as well. Another piece, just to try to transition into some opening of school piece. As mentioned before, a lot of comments by board members, and I want to express my appreciation to the board members who started the tour and those who ended the tour. Mr. DeLallo was one of the last few standing, so to speak, in the tour, and Mr. Casey tracked the tour, and I think we went about 6 miles. When you think about walking through all the schools over the course of probably 4.5 hours, a lot of time, but a lot of quality time. And also want to express my appreciation on behalf of the faculty and staff here at Shen, who really appreciate having board members spending the time, because people know that it takes a lot of time to really commit the time, because you all work and you all have other responsibilities, but you commit the time on opening day to send a very clear message that what people are doing is important, and to send a message about starting the school year off in the right perspective. So thank you very much for doing that, and it never gets old doing it, and I really appreciate you as board members taking the time to do so, and also to Dr. Wood and Mrs. DeFisciani, who also started the tour initially with us as well. So I really want to say that. Just some interesting things I want to share briefly about opening day, and Mr. Casey alluded to enrollment numbers, and hopefully that's enough on that side. Just some interesting facts. Mr. Amelia does a lot of statistical analysis for us, and one of the things I look at every year is where are we enrollment-wise, because it's always interesting to look at it. But in past years, we do this year versus last year. Mr. Amelia did something a little bit different that I thought was interesting, and it's I put on the screen. It'd be hard to see because it is, in fact, hard to see. But I'm just going to highlight a couple of pieces here. So this is a 10-year look back. So we're looking at 2006 in relationship to 2016. And Glenn, I'll give you a copy of this so you can have some of the numbers. Just to give you some perspective, and we did this in comparison, male versus female. It's interesting, when we look back in 2006, we had 4,960 males and 4,693 females. When we look in 2016, we have exactly 5,000 males as of this morning enrolled and 4,834 females. I was actually surprised by that. I really thought that we had more females than males in the school population. And when you start looking down the buildings, the only building that currently has more elementary building with more females than males is Octay. So Octay has 255 males and 271 females. Interestingly enough, the most balanced building, and by the name Shattuckon, Balanced Life, is perfectly balanced at 284 males and 284 females. That's so kind of ironic when you think about that piece of. Just one point I want to point out. The second piece to think about too, because sometimes we don't think about this. 10 years ago, Shattuckon didn't exist. 10 years later, Shattuckon is now populated with 568 students. And the board has the column just to see some differences. For example, 10 years ago, Orangen was our largest elementary building with 781 students. Now it's 126 students less. Ironically, 10 years ago, our second largest elementary building was Tasago with 725 students. Today, it's by far our smallest elementary building at 397. A 328 student difference in that building. A lot of that is because we did some redistribution of students as well as the redistricting piece. Just an interesting piece to look at when you think about that piece of it. The growth of elementary has actually declined over the 10-year period when we look at enrollments across the school district. Middle school, ironically, has been pretty balanced over the 10-year period in terms of boys and girls ratios and things of that nature. Just an interesting piece to point out. However, middle school population has gone up about 145 when you look at that period of time. High school population has gone up over 300 over that 10-year period of time. So again, I share these facts. It's kind of interesting, neat things to think about other than this overall enrollment. A pretty impressive piece that we also look at, and we didn't break it down into subgroups, but just looking at demographics from non-white population to white population. And it's an interesting dynamics when you look at this piece of it. 10 years ago, our most diverse building period was Orangen Elementary School with 14% non-white population. Today, our most diverse building is Tasago Elementary School. And we know that, however, that when you start breaking up that into diversity, who makes up that diversity, but the non-white population is an interesting piece of it. So the interesting things to look at when we look at it. The high school has gone, again, from about 7% to about 17%. When we look at middle schools, it's interesting that, in fact, the most homogeneous building was Chango 10 years ago, and close, Chango is still our most homogeneous building even today. So some things have changed dramatically. Some things have stayed the same, but relative proportion has shifted. So I share this with the board because when we think about the district, as a backdrop to just some opening day comments, when we think about the district, and Mr. Press alluded to my comments from Superintendent's Conference Day, we have to not only think about how we evolve as academics evolve or as regulations evolve. Mr. DeLallo, also Mr. Press alluded to changes in the state education department. We also have to think about how our students' needs evolve and how we evolving as a system to better meet the needs of our students. Demographics is one change of it, be it racial demographic, be it gender demographics, but more importantly, the exposure that kids are bringing to the table becomes a huge part of why we have to evolve. And even Mr. Gilbert's comment about the rollout of one-to-one technology to our sixth grade students is a part of their constant need as a system to evolve. And I think we started this year with some significant shifts as a part of their evolution process, and we're prepared, or should I say, we're poised for continued growth and evolution as a system. And as we look at enrollment, even though our enrollment is relatively flat, when you think of over the course of a 10-year period, relatively flat, what the consistency or the makeup of our enrollment has changed dramatically. And that's the piece that we have to really be cognizant as we move forward as a system. So again, I just want to share just one of those tidbits that you probably would never even think about, and I certainly didn't think about it this deep until Mr. Amelia started sharing those numbers with us as well. And just one last thing related to enrollment. I don't have copies for the board, but I will at some point share with the board. You remember this wonderful, colorful document, which is basically our enrollment sections and averaging, and as we have committed to each year to try to make it better in terms of the balance of class sizes across buildings. And we have an interesting problem to face with, is that we have more and more buildings with grade levels that are below the minimum. Because, in other words, we have a max and min, and some of it is just outgrowth of, for instance, the Tasago reduction. It's outgrowth of the housing stock and the number of kids being born in certain areas, but we watch those things very closely, and the board will hear in November when we do the enrollment piece of it to see how the projections align with some of our realities as well. So just some interesting tidbits as we move forward.
Yeah, I just want to comment. Part of forever when I've been on the board that I have always looked forward to is that projection on where we're going, because that's a big part of our job is planning where we're going, and not to cast aspersions on our projection people, but we're up over 100 from last year, and they were projecting going the opposite way.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what we're looking at this year, and you hit on part of it. It's not only what the total number is, it's what the breakup is within that, because of those bubbles that we often see. So I look forward to that, but it's interesting, this numbers game. The other part of it is, if you drive around this district, and you drive around places, I don't know why, we drove around the town of Half Moon a weekend ago, and the amount of housing that's going on over there, and family housing, not just empty nester kind of housing, it's bound to have an impact on us.
I agree. So just some interesting things. Great start to the year. Again, thank you very much as a board. And I'll transition to you, Mr. Preston, because I think the next piece for sure is one that you wanted to take the lead on.
Yep, if you can get the screen to work. First thing is district mission statement. This is something that we I think started about 2 years ago as, this is something we sort of take for granted. We have a mission statement. A lot of people comfortably accept it, but one of the things we learned this last year was that a lot of people actually use it in the buildings when they're determining where to go. Often these mission statements help a group when they're planning or discussing their future to go, well, what are we all about? And so what we felt, we put this as a goal about this time last year, that we would like to evaluate it, and then over time we put together an ad hoc subcommittee led by Mrs. Rajat. Mr. Dalala was also on it, and so was Mr. Gilbert. And we wanted to evaluate, and I think this is one of these things that you don't want to overdo. And that's what I think we sort of struggle with. And I kind of watched it from a distance because you don't want to make this bigger than it is, and you want to just have a simple means to evaluate or take a pulse in terms of how people saw it and whether there was a need to change. And so you may remember the survey they went through late spring. It was simple. It was a simple 2-question. We also got information from the community as to some ideas that people thought could be brought forward, and I think that was helpful as well. We have a list of emails that we may turn to in the future if people want to get involved in a specific area or project. But overwhelmingly, our response was 85% to keep it. So that's where it sits. Mr. Rajat, anything you'd like to?
No, I just said we received a lot of constructive feedback, which was great, that we did take into consideration, but again, honoring the overwhelming result of 85%, and saying that, with all the other feedback, it's something we can certainly look forward to the future as things change with the educational, settings and, where we're going. But, but thanking everyone who participated in that and offered also to provide that feedback.
And the next part is a goals overview. This is something that came about from our retreat in August. And a couple things I'd like to point out about goals is, the district has a phenomenal, deep, and broad set of goals because we have a full-time superintendent that's very good at these things and has been doing it regularly. And the you to understand his background, one of his degrees at Brown University was in what, organizational management. So I think way back when is sort of where you started realizing the importance of doing this, and that's something that you brought forward into the district, and it continues to work very well. What we've done over the last few years is get a little more specific in the goals we have. But one thing I want to make sure you're all aware of, many of the district goals start with a conversation. And someone brings it forward, and it sort of ruminates throughout the summer and it gets put into a district goal. A lot of these things are not completely internal to the district. It's more coming from the communication, and that really gets back to the mission statement. The mission statement is about the community, is about everybody involved here. Okay? What we felt was we want to focus on a theme of communication. We want to, not focus on a broad set of things. We typically touch a lot of things throughout the year, whether it be the budget process, the various presentations that come forward. We still are, read and understand what comes through as a communication, but we felt that those are fairly well run, okay? And that's very good work that comes forward, and often it's a matter of asking questions, and they typically work out fairly well, and that results in the excellence that we see year to year. So we felt in this comment of T versus well-rounded, Gary presented an article, typically we'll see articles out there in the media, and they talked about well-rounded students versus T-shaped students. It's very important that the T-shaped student has a base in terms of their education. We felt as a board that we wanted to be more T-shaped. We're going to focus in the communication side as something that will come about these specific goals on the other blocks. We also felt that there was strong momentum from the previous year. We had 2 subcommittees working some communications issues, one I've already mentioned. We also enhanced our BOE website. Thank you, Kelly, for all the work that went into that. Much more accessible information to the public. We think that's important for communication. We enhanced the video for that. We also brought Sheridan on the board as a student rep, okay? Primarily conversations from Mary to Bill and Oliver, and something we tried, but we felt that this was an excellent way to broaden our communication reach. And we also did the survey on the mission statement. So a lot of things came through last year, so thank you very much, Bill Casey, for your time as president. That was also an area that we worked on. We saw it as 2 major goals. The first one is in the upper right. We think that we're at the point where we would really benefit from 2 meeting forums with the public throughout the year. A topic not determined yet, but there's some very powerful topics that we think people want to learn more about. They want to see they want to hear from us. They want to have a chance to ask questions. And there's some examples. One is some of the various educational initiatives we have and why we do them. Another is addressing implicit bias that Oliver has brought forward in some of our discussions, that is something that we're working on within in the district. And just a broader topic, why things are important to you. We believe some of the issues involving opting out would benefit from a public forum as a board with district staff to simply present and explain to the public why and how we do things. And we think this is the best way this year to improve our message to the community, building on what we did last year, and to continue to solicit feedback. The second major goal involves our partnership teams. We think right now there's just a huge variance between buildings. Some buildings do partnership intensively, others less so. And there's some misunderstood expectations. Some folks see that this is a sort of an extension of the PTA or extension of fundraising. Definitely not fundraising, we've learned. And we want to just simply understand the document that started this path forward. And so we're going to work on that. We'll develop some work with Todd leading a committee with people in the district to better understand and then figure out what we want to do forward to refresh the partnership. I think that's an opportunity we can get all the buildings to move forward in that direction. So it's more of a refresh and renew, and that's our second major goal. And other things we'd like to bring forward is more of a letter to the community. There are things we're doing that are very important, but there's also places where we don't often see the participation that we would like to have. We have various committees that are, we always see someone from the district at these committees, okay, well staffed from that perspective. Always see 1 or 2 educators, and maybe 1, maybe 2 of the parents in the community. And from what I've seen, it'd be well served to get a letter that simply says, here are some things you can do, It's not a big time commitment, but it is something that I found is a very meaningful way to interact with the school and also provide some of your experience if you're a parent and you've been in the workforce for quite some time, or you can provide, or just in life for a period of time. The insight you can provide as a parent into these committees would be well served, and we like to just mention that to folks that, hey, these are some places your participation could help you, and you may benefit from it as well, and then provide contact information. So that would be an opportunity to get more people from the community participating. Another idea mentioned by Mr. Casey, perhaps meet with an editorial board of the various newspapers, explain what we're doing, where we're going. I think this would be a way to continue our message into that venue. You'll see at the end of tonight's meeting, we also are going to review on a regular basis at our business meetings upcoming policy actions. Why that's important? I think that adds kind of a rhythm to how we run policy. We have, after the first reading, we present it on a board meeting. The document may or may not get modified at that point. Then we have a second reading, okay, and then it becomes policy. Well, we thought good idea to maybe do it right before, so you will see sort of a bookending effect, 3 meetings between 2 months, and you'll have an idea of what is coming through that particular committee. And the last piece is simply on our website, we'd like to have an insert where we simply project out our next meeting will be about these topics. Very, very factual, but simply a message to the community that people can turn to and say, okay, that's right, I can get some insight as to what's coming up next. All these last 2 are primarily to just get information out ahead of time so people can look at it and think about if they want to attend the next meeting. So that's what we have, some fairly straightforward things, clearly focused on communications, and that's where we'd like to go. So we will probably either make it an action item either this meeting or the next, but definitely the mission statement will be an action item for tonight's meeting. Subject to comments and questions on this one?
Good. Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay.
Do you want me to just comment on this, Mr.?
Sure.
So one of the things that the board engage in is professional development as a board. And each year, the annual conference, this coming year, it will be in beautiful Buffalo. Have to give some acknowledgement to Buffalo, correct? Mm-hmm. And beautiful Buffalo. And a part of that process is the business meeting component. Very important. The professional development opportunities for board members are very important. I would say equally important is the business meeting. And we've been very fortunate to have Mr. DeLallo over the past at least decade or so, if I'm not mistaken, other than what thing one time maybe he wasn't able to attend, there was an alternate, serve as the voting delegate. So I'm not necessarily saying that Mr. DeLallo is going to do it, even though on the action item his name is listed as such. But there's a book of resolutions, and this was shared with the board electronically. And there's an item on the agenda asking for the approval of the voting delegate and an alternate to that piece of it. And again, making the assumption that Mr. DeLallo will voluntarily say yes to that. The big question becomes, and I think part of the discussion at this time, or maybe even when we get to the action item, is who serves as a voting delegate for that piece of it. I don't know if Gary wants to comment a little bit about the process and the business meeting, or maybe even some of the resolutions or not.
Well, at this particular point in time, I haven't really looked at the resolution booklet in depth to really formulate a firm position or really analyze individual resolutions. But generally what I've seen, and relatively unusual for delegates, including myself, to disagree with what the resolutions committee has ultimately endorsed or said that they were not going to endorse. Each year something crops up, becomes an issue that has to be addressed, and that's where, when they have broad application, that's where these things tend to emerge, and they make sense to do something about. Occasionally, an individual district will get a bug in their craw. They'll be upset about something, and they will write a resolution, and those are the resolutions that generally do not get approved or endorsed by the resolutions committee for good reason, because while that particular district may see that they have a particular advantage one way or another on the resolution. When you try to apply it more broadly, it doesn't work, and it's not good for everybody. So, unless anybody has anything specific that they want to bring forward that they've already done, or later on after they've had an opportunity to examine it more carefully, I certainly would be willing to take anything anybody has to say into account. But I am willing. The bottom line is I am willing to serve, and I actually look forward to it because we have a resolution up, and I don't anticipate that there's going to be a problem with it. But surprise, surprise, every once in a while, somebody gets a little different slant on it, and all of a sudden it becomes an issue because they've either a misunderstanding or maybe they saw something we didn't anticipate.
So good. Any comments on that specific resolution?
On our
Yes.
specific one? Well, I think it was probably almost 2 years
Right here
ago.
on the screen now.
Was it 2 years ago that Dr. Robinson, that you brought up the
20 graduation requirements.
22 resolutions? We were all along under the impression that the Board of Regents had already adopted a regulation, prospectively, that these regulations will be in effect as of 2022, and to reach these, you'll be subjected to certain examinations that will be both more rigorous and somewhat different, starting in 2012. And with that in mind, and with data that had been generated here and actually generated by survey information from the State Education Department, it was pretty clear that it was going to be a devastating thing on high school graduation rates. And didn't matter whether you were a high-performing school like ourselves, which could conceivably see our graduation rate drop from the 90-something% into the 50s, but for some of our more challenged schools, primarily in urban areas, where the graduation rate is already sub 50%, the result again would be about half as much, and definitely would wind up in the 20% range, and that just didn't make any sense. So I think we basically talked about this a little bit previously, but when this resolution actually came forward to the Resolutions Committee, all of a sudden, lo and behold, I guess probably Julie Marlette did some talking to people in the Regents or State Ed Department. She's the Director of Governmental Relations. And said, oh, no, that's not a regulation at all. It was never enacted. Well, I don't think they want to admit that they made a mistake, quite frankly, candidly. But that was fine, if that's the case. So our plea in the resolution shifts a little bit and say, not to undo something, just don't do it. And so that is basically the resolution, and I think we should be okay. Anybody that pays attention to the data says, wait a minute, something's wrong here. And what was really interesting to me, because of the BOCES district superintendent, or in our particular instance, they call him superintendent because that title belongs to the state of New York. We have to call him superintendent instead of district superintendent. He attends Regents meetings. And so he is privy to discussions and so forth that go on at those meetings. And apparently the Regents are now looking at the so-called standards, of what constitutes college and career ready. And I think there's an awareness and an admission that they overshot the target, and that they're rethinking something a little bit more realistic. And that is what drove things. As I said before, we're going to do what we're going to do here, and our standard is going to always be higher than the state of New York's. But we like the idea that we have control over what we're going to shoot at, not the state of New York. Because I think we do a better job. Sometimes I think they shoot first and aim second.
Thank you for your comments on it. I mean, we've known about this for quite some time. Oliver, I think, did a great job 2 years ago sounding the alarm. What was new information was the person her name was Julie Marlette, finding that this was not acted upon. It's something we simply say, just don't do it, as opposed to let's oppose it. So thank you very much. Thanks for bringing this forward, getting attention, getting a spotlight on this particular issue. So I think that gives you a good idea of what Gary's position is. Any other comments or questions? Look like you have one.
No, I read the resolutions. There was one that I had a question about, and I think maybe I'll send a message later. Otherwise, I'm good.
And so what you're saying, Mrs. Rajat would be a great alternate?
Yeah, you are.
I did
Okay,
mention.
I'm sorry. I thought that's what you were thinking. I'm sorry. I overstepped my bounds, Mr. President. Meeting's on this.
I'd like to just ask if anybody would also be willing to support Gary as an alternate. Someone has come forward, but if anybody else would be interested. That person said that perhaps they would, allow someone who wanted to do it more to do it, but I could ask that person.
I unfortunately don't think I'll be in attendance this year.
Okay. That person was me. I'm interested in the advocacy piece, so I think this is a good opportunity to learn it. So I'm comfortable being an alternate, and I look forward to spending some time. I saw it last year, a lot of activity in a room. Some of it tends to be hype. Some of it tends to be, things that really aren't conducive to policy, but I also thought that there were a lot of good nuggets in there, and you gave an excellent example of it, of your resolution, where there's a lot of good nuggets of policy development that needs to be brought forward, so I look forward to supporting you on that.
Great.
And I'll
Do
be
you
the
want us-
alternate
A
also.
great precedent for the president to serve as an alternate moving forward.
Do you want the nomination now before you change your mind? Or do you want to wait until-
I'll think about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
So, any other questions, comments on our information items? I think we're wrapping that up, and let's move over to content. So, treasurer's report. Do you have a motion to accept it? Mr. Casey, any second? Mr. Gilbert? Any comments, questions on this?
Can I just say, I don't know if it was formatting or what, but I found that a lot easier to read this time. Is there something different about that?
What?
No? Okay, I don't know.
Different font.
9 years, I finally got it. Thank you.
All right. All in favor? Okay, let's move on to minutes, and we'll break these out separately because we had some differences in who attended. So for the meetings of August 9th, can I have a motion? Mrs. Blaber, second Mrs. Stevenson. Any comments or questions? I think some people will have to recuse themselves August 9th. That would be Mr. Gilbert, Mrs. Rajat, and myself. Okay. All in favor? Mrs.
So 4 and 3 absent.
Yep.
Okay.
And then for August 23rd minutes, can I have a motion? Mrs. Rajat, Mr. Casey. Any comments, questions? And then one abstention from Mrs. Stevenson. All in favor? 6 of 6. Okay. Moving on to action items. And the first one is a revision of annual appointments. And, are there any questions right now? Okay. Can I have a motion to accept this? Mr. Casey, Mr. DeLallo, there's a second. We've already asked for comments, questions. All in favor? Okay. Second one is approval of sports booster clubs. Can I have a motion to accept it? Mrs. Rajat, Mr. Gilbert. Any comments, questions on the booster clubs? Okay, all in favor? And the next one is a bid for softball field reconstruction. Motion on this one, Mrs. Stevenson, second. Mr. Casey, any comments, questions? All in favor? Okay. Fourth one is a contract for Mosaic Associates. Motion to bring to vote. Mr. Law, Mr. Gilbert, comments, questions? Mrs.
This is
Blaber?
just such a huge project, and I'm so grateful for their expertise, really, and it's great to have them.
Okay.
I just comment, just because I have experience in this, in terms of what the law requires, in terms of selection of this is considered a professional service. It's not something that's subject to bid. We're able to go through an evaluation process and make a selection based on that. And I think the selection is supported by the great work of this firm in the past, in knowing our buildings and being able to use that knowledge to bring efficiency and savings to us.
Any other comments? All in favor? Next one up is contracted services, special education, CBD connections, Lori Aurelia. Mrs. Mylan, did you want to speak about this, or well, let's go to a motion to Mrs. Rajat, Mr. Casey. Any comments, questions? Okay, all in favor? And let's go to disposal of buses. Motion to on this one. Mr. Gilbert, can I have a second? Mrs. Blaber, comments, questions?
Just a question. This is buses that will be leaving the district, not those that are being repurposed within the district for
As part of
facilities
our
or
bus
whatever
replacement,
else.
we go either sell them, reuse them, or use it part of trading.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor? And the next one is emergency pesticide resolution. Can I have a motion? Mr. Casey, Mrs. Stevenson, comments, questions? All in favor? And next one is scholarship and local grant donations. Can I have a motion? Mrs. Blaber? Mrs. Rajat? Comments, questions?
With gratitude.
With gratitude. All in favor? All in favor with gratitude. And ninth is an addendum to municipal cooperation agreement. Can I have a motion? Mr. Rajat, Mr. Casey, comments, questions? All in favor? Okay. So that's passed as well. So now we'll turn it over to acceptance of special education placements. Now we have Mrs. Mylott. Thank you.
Any questions? You want a motion?
Motion? Mrs. Blaber, Mrs. Stevenson, comments, questions on the document? All in favor?
Sure.
And the next one is personnel approval of staffing recommendations. Can I have a motion? Mrs. Rajat, second. Mr. Casey, any comments or questions?
Is this the last of them for this
No.
We had 6 this time, 3 are probationary. All of these 6 started on the first day and were able to,
Six what, Joe?
I'm sorry, probationary teachers. They were able to attend Superintendent's Conference Day. And we have a Quest teacher that is in potential recommendation to be hired, and a second grade. And then we have maternity leaves. But we're working through those.
And we have a notable retirement.
We have a notable retirement, Lori Valenti, music teacher, and I believe it's December, but she has put in her notice for retirement.
Yeah. I miss her.
Thank you.
Okay. So no other comments, questions? All in favor? Okay. And on the back page, we have 2 other items. First one is approval of the reaffirmation of our district mission statement. Thank you to Mrs. Blaber. You asked for some additional comments. I think those were put in there, so thank you very much for catching that. Can I have a motion for this? Ms. Rajat, Mr. Casey, any comments, questions at this point, concerns? All right, all in favor? Thank you. And the next one is our appointment of NISBA delegate and resolutions. Can I have a motion?
As well as the alternate.
And the alternate. Can I have a motion?
Can I make a motion to revise this to designate the alternate?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I move to accept this resolution with the addition of the alternate, Mr. President.
Can I have a second? Mr. Casey, any comments, questions?
I would just say one thing, and Gary, we trust. This is detail. It is, we've shown in the past that some years we're a nudge, some years we're a bigger nudge, and some years we get people on board and we get attention. And just raising the question, as Gary did with Julie, has changed the tenor of that discussion. So, good job, Gary. But thank you for doing it. And thank you, Bob, for volunteering to back you.
All in favor? Okay. So we're done with all the action items. We can now go back to public comments. If there's anybody out there that would like to make some additional comments, you're welcome to step up. Going once, twice. Did you want to make a comment?
No, I just wondered if Sheridan had anything to add.
With the, again, with the start of the school year, part of the excitement, I guess, at the high school is seeing
this year, especially with the banners, because there was confusion last year with the teams running through there. So it started on the opposite side, and the banner ended up on the wrong side. So this year we decided to ditch the team names, and we have phrases such as like Shen Plainsman, Let's Go, Green White,
good
Everybody,
idea.
different things like that. So hopefully the phrases will line up in the right order, but we'll be able to work that out.
Great.
And at this point, we've ended public comments. I'd like to turn over to Mr. Gilbert to start our first policy review update.
So for the next half hour, I'd like to review.
5-7.
Well, in all due seriousness, Bob a little bit earlier spoke a little bit about the process, so I won't go into that. You know, the policy review in general is a very methodical and systematic approach. We have a group of folks, including Bob and Mary from the board, as well as administrators and teachers throughout the district that are a part of this committee, and they look through the policies, anything that needs to be updated, confirmed. From a board perspective, our process is after the committee gets through, they bring it to us for a first reading. That's where we have our opportunity to review, provide comments, send it back, as Bob said, and then it comes back for a second reading and approval. You know, we also talked about our communication and our transparency. So one of the things that we'll start doing now on a regular basis is, from a vice president perspective, is share just a glimpse of what everybody can expect for the policies that'll be coming up for the first review. So again, this isn't an option or an opportunity for us to talk about the policies. This is just to give everybody a heads up. So when we look at what's in the review committee now and that will be coming for first reading here in the next meeting, there are a few. Participation by the public with various policies, district records, code of conduct, maintenance of order, and then, you know, quite a few policies, too many to read, and even a half hour on attendance. So the point is, when the policy or when the agenda comes out for our first reading, that will be there. The public will be able to see all those policies, gives them an opportunity to see the same information that we're all seeing. So again, I hope that what this does is allows everybody to see that there's an approach to this. It's not just a whim of pick this, pick that, and do that, but at the same time share what's going on. So if you have some thoughts or some ideas when you see those policies, whether it's the board or the public, you have an opportunity to comment on that. So again, we'll continue with that on a regular basis to keep everybody up to speed. So
Thank you. All right. At this point, we're heading towards adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Mr. Casey, Mrs. Rajat. Any comments, questions? No? Okay. All in favor? Thank you very much. We're done.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Nice
Does
job.
that work?
Good job.